much can I show? Okay. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Last weekend, Monika and I spent almost the entirety of Saturday and Sunday helping out with a few light renovations of this house. And this weekend, we're planning to do the same. This is Monika's old family house. It's her grandma's house that she bought and built herself in 1985. But since then, so much has changed. So while the house may not be too old, only about 37 years old or so, since then, Lithuania has of course gained its independence. And so much has changed, especially for Lithuania. It's moved on such a huge amount in the past 30 years or so. I think that this house gives a fascinating insight into what life has been like in the past 40 years or so in Lithuania and how much it's progressed. So, before the renovations pick up too much speed and a significant amount of things change in this house, I thought it would be a great opportunity to give you an insight into what life has been like and what life is like for one of these traditional Lithuanian houses, because it's very much still a working house and it's got a lot of stories to tell. So I will take the camera off Monika and let's start in the garden. It makes much more sense actually to start from the front garden. So just to give you an idea on the properties around, you see a few houses and outbuildings around. You can see there chickens over there next to that house. And if I zoom out again, that just gives you an idea of the surroundings. So the front gate here. And this is the outside of the house. Now this was Monika's grandma who actually designed and built this house from scratch, all by herself. She was an accountant. The house is situated on a good sized plot of land where the house is bang in the middle. You've got outbuildings here, and this is where for me the real fascination starts, because it's a great insight into how much of a working house it was. And I guess, you know, houses and land, they had to be proper working bits of land where you could farm and you could keep animals and livestock. So one of the first outbuildings here, I don't think it's been touched much in the past 5 or 6 years, but you can get a great idea just with a few little hints of what it was like. That massive TV that's still been left there, huge amount of old magazines. And an old stool up on the top there. And if I go into the next one, now this one is the workstation. I don't think there are many tools left here, but in fact it gets so dark in here I may even need to get a torch. So all of the tools here, I have no idea what that is, but you can see the spider's webs everywhere. An old radio there that's been nailed up to the wooden wall. Horseshoe. These, as is very common here, asbestos roof here. That's been changed in the house now. There's now no longer an asbestos roof, but you get all of these little boxes, these crates. And it's getting so dark in here I can barely see. But lots of different bits of wood and I think tools for the garden there. Look at that. Some kind of old helmet there. Wow, okay, we'll move on to the next room. I think we'll go through. Let's go through this one here, because I think this will take us to the livestock area of the outbuilding. And I'll just give you an idea by zooming out of what the outbuilding is like there. Okay, and if I go through the door here, Now, I won't go up those steps, but that is where I think they used to store, you can see the remnants there, all of the hay. You've got a bird's nest there, and through here I'll zoom out there. This is where all of the livestock would be kept. I'll try and keep the door open behind me. So all of the chickens would be kept in here, and they could run down to the side where you would collect the eggs there, where you can see the hay. So the chickens would be up here. I think they had a couple of cows and maybe even some pigs, and they would be eating from that side. But you can see nothing's happened here in a very, very long time. Old kind of wheelbarrow thing over there. Wooden roof. And through here, well, spiders' webs everywhere, but I think this is where they used to keep the pigs in this section. That door has been boarded up. A few odd bits of wood there, but this was where they would keep the livestock, and this was properly used. Everything here, all of the livestock, they had all have been used for meat, for just, I think just for the family. Possibly they used to sell some cheese and milk as well. Okay, coming back out. And then, see if I've got a key for this one. Hopefully I'll be able to find the key for this one. I think this is where they used to keep their car, if I remember. Got it. So, this would be the car garage. Just seen a frog. In fact, quite a few frogs living under there, I think. And this would have been where the car would have been right here. But look at some of these old things. That's in, of course, that's in Russian. An old first aid box. Wow. Some old newspaper cuttings there. And then, see, it's very interesting, of course. That's all, of course, in Russian. Probably an old, I don't know, toolbox or something. And then an old safe. Right, I will show you now. Sorry, it's hot. Oh, it's hot today. I'll show you the back of the outbuildings. So there are spiders, cobwebs everywhere. Show you the back of the outbuildings here, because they've got a proper area where they grow vegetables, and still now they grow their vegetables. So I think dinner tonight will be almost entirely grown from the garden here. It's a decent sized plot of land, and they grow everything from, I think, spinach, celery, lots of potatoes. They love their potatoes in Lithuania. And I don't think it's ready yet, but apples. Apple trees grow like weeds in Lithuania. I've never seen anything like it. I think every apple tree here has about 1,000 apples on, and they get so many that, well, I think probably what happens, either you sell more, the reality is you just have to, if you're not doing something with them, you just have to end up binning them because there's so many thousands. So I'll flip the camera. They've got plans for this to turn it all into, I think, vegetable growing and stuff like that. So this is the back garden, just separated with some wire fencing all the way around. You can see the different buildings. Still you get a lot of asbestos on the roofs of the buildings here. I think that was very much the material that was used, of course. But look at that immaculately kept lawn. So these were the old buildings, but these will be not specifically houses, but all of the outhouses for all of the houses around. See, all of them very much working houses where traditionally you would have had livestock and you would have grown all your own fruit and veggies. See there, that's all fruit and veg growing there. And here, no different. You can see how big the plot of land is. This bit here specifically is being used for fruit and for veg growing, but you can see the potential of how much eventually. That's the outbuilding there. You can see still got the asbestos roof on, but I'll show you the difference of having the new roof on that went on, I think, a year ago. It's transformed the house. Coming back through here, you see all the lovely vegetables. We'll gorge through those later. Apple trees, just a ridiculous amount of apples already on them, weighing the trees down massively. Coming up here to the side of the house. Now, a lot of stuff here will have been built actually from Monika's dad, Valdis, when he used to live here. So I think maybe, I think this swing chair actually was built by Monika's dad right here. So Monika would have used this for swinging when she was younger. You've got a couple of extra outhouses that just hold wood and things like that to the side. You've got a grapevine here. And of course, the neighbour's garden here, separated with that wire fencing. Okay, now I want to show you something, because there's a basement in this house. And I personally find it fascinating. You know, for Monika, who's lived here, it's just normal. But I find it such a great insight into, I think it would have been Monika's step-granddad who would have used it. It's his little kind of quiet area. In fact, I'll close this. Okay, I'll close that and I'll flip the camera, because we're now going in through the kitchen. So this is the little hallway area when you come in through the kitchen, and I think this is fairly unchanged since the house was brand new. Again, the thing that surprises me with this house, and maybe it's the same for all houses of this era, all of the rooms are really good sizes, and you get this lovely, well, this is laminate, but actually this is just mirroring the original flooring. The original flooring I've seen upstairs is herringbone wood flooring. It's really interesting, with these really strong looking industrial radiators. And have a look at this. I'm always amazed, the thickness of the walls on these old Lithuanian houses. They're built like fortresses. It's incredible. You can see there, that's where I came up with the banisters and the door. We're hoping to sand that down and varnish it today, potentially. But this is the kitchen. Plans for this, not immediate plans, but there will be plans to do the kitchen. Coming through, and this is the living room. You can see just in the corner, started peeling back the wallpaper. And again, the huge rooms, all of them. Great looking space. I think the plan will be eventually maybe to take that ceiling off and just keep it as a natural style ceiling, just to open up the space a little bit more. But again, big windows in the corner, looking out onto the front garden there. And the darker furniture, this may be a feature from the 80s, from the 90s, when the houses were new, but the darker furniture with the nice, the good quality glasses, vases and things like that on display. Let me just zoom back out. On display there. Coming through here. Just through there is the downstairs bathroom. I'll just check Monika's auntie isn't in here. Okay, so this is a room that we're doing now. This is currently being de-wallpapered, and then this will be painted hopefully today. And this is a bit, okay, that I find so fascinating. Going downstairs now to the basement. Now this is, oh, it gives you just an amazing insight. And I'll be completely honest, I think it may be too dark. I'll try and get my torch out to show it. This is where, it's a kind of, I don't know how to describe it, a chill out area for Monika's step-granddad. How much can I show? Okay. I'm just trying to light a bit of the way. You can see, okay, there's a bit of natural light there, but it is very minimal. So we're underground now in the basement. This hatch here would have been used for people to push through all of the potatoes and apples through that gap at ground level, and they would pour them and shimmy them all the way along here and preserve them for the winter, because they would last so much longer down here for the winter. See, everything had to be used at these times during the 80s, the 90s in Lithuania. You had to not waste anything at all. So all of the potatoes would be carefully placed and not packeted, but carefully situated on all of these shelves, along with this side, where I think they would put all of the apples from the apple trees, and they would turn those into jams and preserves with the berries, the apples and things like that. Hence why you get so many jars there. They would all be turned into preserves, so it would last for the winter. Now, through here, oh, it's so dark. Okay, this is where I think you've got, okay, let's have, oi. Can you see that? The floor is oily and muddy, and I think it actually floods when it gets to winter because it's built on a swamp here. This is the heater. Now, this is the heating system for the house. It's not what we know of a modern house. It is where you have to put wood and coal in there and burn it. So Monika's granddad would have to sit here burning wood and coal in this machine at about, I think, 4 a.m. to make sure it could heat the whole house. And there you see the piping and everything else like that. So he would sit there and have a look at this. So I'm slipping all over the place. His friend, I think, would sit on that seat there, and they would just sit chatting in their own little, you'd probably call it a snug area now in today's language. And then a whole load of old tools and paints, and looks like an old sanding machine, which is almost annoying, because we've just rented one of those for the day. Just realised that we've got one there, but you can see all of the old piping there, and just a whole load of old locks and things. And then that, weirdly enough, you won't believe it, but that's a shower. So I think he would take his showers actually downstairs. And then if we come along here, again, you've got a few more things on the side there, just some old bottles and stuff. And this is where I think you'd come up through this side of the house here. Okay, right, I need to try and get back out. So, going through here, back again. Let's try and get that torch there so you can see. Oh, I can feel how wet it is underfoot. It's almost constantly wet, and I think you'll get a decent chunk of water where you can't actually walk on the floor in the winter because the water level must be quite high in here. Okay, I'm coming back through. You can see even a few bricks there to try and stop you from getting your feet wet. Back upstairs now. Oi. And I'll just show you the last couple of rooms. Upstairs, not quite as interesting, purely because the renovation works have already begun. So I'll just give you a brief idea on what things are like up here. So you've got a hallway, this will all be sanded. Extra kitchen there. Excuse me. Extra kitchen there. This room has almost been completely redone. The difference that it makes after the rooms have been redone, I mean, look at the size of it. Huge, huge rooms here with lovely dual aspect there, looking out onto the trees and onto the balcony. This, I'm quite proud of this. I redid this last weekend. This was full of kind of old plastics, and it had been turned into an enclosed balcony here. You can see where all of the screw marks are. So I took all of that off, opened it up, and took off all the covering of these so you can see the traditional old railings there. And what a lovely little spot. Rocking chair and a normal chair, and you get to look out onto the rest of the village. And here you can see all of the apples everywhere. and it gives you a good vantage point to the rest of the village. You can see one roof being redone over there. And the final room to show, just again, this is currently being used as a bedroom, but look at the beautiful quality flooring. I mean, this costs a premium, but this is the original flooring. Great looking herringbone. All that needs is sanding down, nothing else. But a really good sized room there. And every room is almost an exact square, so very easy to work on, easy to fit furniture, and just renovate in general. Final thing, this is shared with the neighbours, and this is a well for drinking water. So, you know, it'd just be standard in the morning, you would go outside, you would pump the well with water. I mean, Monika remembers doing all of these things. It's so interesting, and that is exactly split between the neighbour's garden and Monika's family house garden, so both get full use of that. You have to put the cover on just to make sure things don't go in it and it stays as drinking water. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll wrap it up by just quickly going on to the main road and just showing you a little bit of what the village is like. Let's see if I can open this. Nice and easy. Right, I'll wrap it up there. Hopefully you found that interesting. As I said, it's probably the last chance, possibly. I'll get to show that inside of the house, because the renovations have well and truly begun now. So it's great to see it with a lot of those original features and things like that. At least I find it fascinating. Thank you so much everyone for coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a brilliant week all. Please do give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.